Hello boys and girls, today we're going to go on another math adventure and we're going to look at key algebraic expression terms. Okay, so we're going to introduce you to some vocabulary just so that when we look at an algebraic expression, we know what the different parts of it are. Okay, let's take a look at some sample problems. Boys and girls, we're going to look at some key vocabulary for algebraic expressions, so please get out your vocabulary for algebraic expressions guided notes. And what we needed to do is identify the different parts of these algebraic expressions, and there's some key vocabulary that's necessary. We're going to start out with variables, okay? And in this algebraic expression of 3a plus 4y minus 6, we have two variables. And a variable is simply a letter or symbol that represents a number. And here we have a, which represents some unknown number at the current time, but a and y are our variables. They're pretty easy to identify since they're letters usually. Next, let's take a look at terms. Now, terms. A term is either a single number or a variable or the product of several numbers and variables, which simply means numbers and variables put together, but they're separated from another term by a plus or minus sign in an overall expression. When I take a look at this expression here, I see that there's a plus and a minus sign, and sure enough, they separate three different terms. Okay, our first term would be 3a. The second term is 4y. And the last term is 6. So there's our three terms. We have 3a, 4y, and we also have 6 all by its lonesome. But nevertheless, we have three terms. That will lead us to our next important part of these expressions. And the key word that we're looking for is coefficient. Now, a coefficient is a number before the variable that expresses how many of each variable there are. Well, when I look at my variables, I see a and y. And how many a's do I have? I have 3, because right here's my coefficient. And how many y's do I have? I have 4 y's. See, the coefficients tell us how many of each variable we have. And there we have it, coefficients. So our two coefficients are 3 and 4. That leads us to our next important item, and that's a term. Well, the term is actually, it's a constant. I might say, what's a constant? This might be something new to you. A constant is simply a number. Okay, a constant is a value that doesn't change. That's what 6 is our constant. Okay, it's usually a number all by its lonesome. Constant doesn't change. 6 will always be 6. Okay, and there's our 4 key vocabulary words that we need to know, or items that we need to be familiar with when we talk about algebraic expressions. We need to know the variables. We need to know what a coefficient is. We need to be able to identify the terms and what a constant is. Boys and girls, here's another key vocabulary word that you want to be aware of, quantity. Now, quantity, when you hear quantity, you know it's an amount. But I think we can be more specific than that. It's a specific amount or answer to a sum, difference, product, or quotient. You might want to write this down. It might help you remember when you hear the word quantity. Basically, it's telling you that you need to find the answer to an addition problem, a subtraction problem, a multiplication problem, or a division problem. In this example here, we can describe it as the product of two factors. Okay, we're trying to find the product of these two factors, 2 and 6. Okay, the quantity is viewed, the quantity of 2 and 6, or 2 plus 6, is viewed as one factor consisting of two terms. Now we know that if we add these together, okay, it'd be the same thing as 3 times 8, which would be equal to 24. Okay, but focusing on the quantity, it's 8.
Okay, so when you hear quantity, remember it's the answer or the amount to one of these four basic operations. Boys and girls, let's do a little more guided practice together. Okay, here we have an algebraic expression. Let's see if we can identify the different parts of it. Let's deal with terms first. Terms are either constants or variables, or constants and variables combined together, but they have to be, these terms have to be separated by addition or subtraction. Well, I see an addition sign here, so I'd have to say that 3y, that is one term, and 8z is another term. So we have two terms. Check. Operations. Let's see, what operations do we have? We have addition, and let's not forget about this fraction bar, which is really what? We can think of that as a division sign. So we have two operations going on. Check. Let's then look at variables. Now we know variables are symbols, usually letters, that represent an unknown number. And sure enough, we've got a y right here and a z right here. We have two variables. Check. And coefficients. Coefficients is a number or constant that comes right before a variable. It tells us how many variables we have of each. And we have 3 y's and we have 8 z's. And that's it for coefficients. We have 2 coefficients as well. Now, what about constant? A constant? Well, that's a good question. And the answer is no. No, there is no constant. And someone might say, well, then what is 15? Well, 15, it's not a term because it's not separated. It's not all by itself, separated by addition or subtraction. It's actually dividing. And it's technically, if anything, it's part of the coefficient. Since we have to divide both of these terms by 15, how many y's do we have? Well, if we look at it right up here, we have 3 y's. But technically, we have 3/15 of a y. And how many z's do we have? Well, at a quick glance, we have 8 z's. But technically, we have 8/15 of a z, since we need to divide both of these terms by 15. Okay, so there you have it. We had a little tricky ending here, but I think if you can identify these key parts of an algebraic expression, you're in good shape.
There you have it. Now you guys can identify different parts of an algebraic expression. You know, coefficients, variables, terms, and constants. We've got it. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.